Well, Adrienne, thanks so much for meeting with me today because lately I've had like 3 or 4 clients come to see me. They had houses that they inherited through what I call a deathbed deed. And it sounds really bad, but what that is like their parent was terminally ill, wanted to make sure they got the house, didn't have a trust, didn't have any kind of a will, and they signed a deed, put them on title before they died. Then all of a sudden the parent has passed away, they want to go sell the house, and I immediately send them off to a CPA to find out how much in taxes they owe because mom paid like $13,000 for that house and now it's worth $1 million. So are there things that could have been done that would have protected them from the tax burden that they now have and maybe made this process easier?
Absolutely. They thought they were doing the right thing because by doing that deathbed deed, as you call it, they avoid probate,
Right.
which is very expensive, time consuming, and can be challenging. So they did avoid probate. They just inherited a different kind of problem with their tax liability.
Correct.
So the gold standard for estate planning is doing a trust, and that would have definitely solved the problem because it avoids probate and passes their house to their kids or however they want, and all their other assets as well. But sometimes a trust doesn't always work because of a person's budget or timing if you have
Right.
to do it quickly. So there is another instrument in California as of January of 2016 called a transfer on death deed. And a transfer on death deed you sign before you die, obviously, and you
Okay.
name your beneficiary. It works very well because it's revocable during your lifetime. It avoids probate, so when the transferor or parent dies, the beneficiary named on the deed just records a death certificate and that transfers title. So you've now avoided probate and all that expense, and you've passed your property to the person that you've chosen. It is completely revocable during your lifetime. There's a couple different ways to revoke it. It's convenient, especially when you have only one property or one heir. I've used it a few times for families that are in those situations.
Well, that sounds perfect because if you don't have the trust or the budget to do the trust, and we'll talk again about trust on our next episode, but it definitely seems like a cleaner way to do it. And for them, for my clients, had they done the transfer on death deed and gotten their title that way, it would have saved them like potentially hundreds of thousands in taxes.
Right, because in that way, the cost basis is from the parent's date of death as opposed to when the parent first purchased that property.
Right.
So it's just like you inherit your property either through probate or through a trust. You still have your cost basis as date of death, and so you save a lot of money on taxes. I think a lot of people don't even know about this transfer on death deed. It's relatively new in California. A lot of other states have had it for a long time. The law is supposed to be repealed in January 2021 unless it's reenacted, which I think it will be, but it will always be in effect for anything executed prior to that date.
So this year would be a good year to do that if you're not going to do a full estate plan.
If this instrument, the transfer on death deed, works for your family, yes, you should do it. But it is not good for a lot of people if your issues are complicated, if you have a lot of beneficiaries. If you want to name a lot of people on your property to inherit your property in different proportions, it doesn't work because even if you name 2 or 3 people, it's going to be equal shares.
Okay.
So if you have a different plan in mind, a full estate plan including a trust is still the better way to go.
Well, good. So if anyone has questions about doing a transfer on death deed or like you did for me, a full trust, which takes care of everything, it's okay for our guests to reach out
Absolutely.
because we have a lot of guests. Thanks so much. I appreciate your time today. Thanks,
You're
Adrienne.
welcome, Diana.